they hit a point in their business where they could not tender for larger projects like six-figure projects, merely because they didn't have the cash flow to purchase the stock. It put a massive strain on their business, so they could only go for the smaller projects. So they approached us via a client that we've got, and they've asked us for help. So what they've done since then is they've been quoting for jobs which are in excess of £500,000, which was unheard of for the business. They've got 4 in the pipeline, and it's going to be their most successful year ever. But all of this is down to their revolving cash flow facility and the flexibility in their cash flow.
Well, everybody, you are listening to the Black Country Business Podcast. So I know personally as a business owner and a coach that some points in the business, I'm going to reach that level that I need to start growing my business. So to grow a business, you need to start investing in it. So where do we turn? Where do we look to? Where do we go? Now, I know that there's some, straight away in my mind, I'll go, well, where's the money at? I need to go and speak to the bank. But is that the best advice? So I get this coming up in quite a few coaching sessions, is where's the best place to get financing for my business? So we've called in an expert today, and the expert is Akaash. How you doing, Akaash?
Very good, thank you.
Good to have you on the podcast. So your business, what's your business's name?
InvestGrow Financial Services.
Right, okay. So give me a bit of a background about what you do, who your clients are, and how do you serve them?
Sure. So Lewis, you're a business owner.
Yeah.
You know, when your business is at a point and you need more cash flow to grow, you need to invest in stocks, in assets, and allow your business to really kick on, but you haven't got that cash flow. What do you do at that point?
Well, there's a few things, isn't there? I mean, I've been there in the past. So my manufacturing firm, for example, we need to buy a lot more equipment to get things out the door faster. But also we need to make sure that the cash flow is always okay. So I used to just call the bank and speak to the bank manager, and they put me in touch with somebody.
So with that, yeah, and it's a very good answer. So what was the outcome with that? What was your experience?
Well, first of all, it's it's when the bank manager gets back to you, because obviously they're very busy and lots of customers as well. So finding somebody with a great relationship, I guess, was key for me. Don't get it as fast as we want to, and sometimes it usually misses the spot. Does that make sense? So we need the money a lot sooner than it takes to process it through.
Okay, so now let me ask you, what did that cost you? Now, I'm going to delve into that a bit deeper. Really think about, what did it cost you? Did it cost you time? Did it cost you money? Did it cost your business to slow down? Did it cost you loss of revenue?
Well, this is it. If I think about the time thing, is my time is better used growing the business rather than having to think about all the money, spending time thinking about where's the best place to go for money as well. So yeah, it costs quite a lot when you add it all up. And I'm pretty sure if we'd had the machine a lot quicker as well, then we could have been getting a lot more things out the door. So
okay, so what if I could tell you that out there are niche lenders that specifically work with people who are looking for cash flow, people who are looking for plant equipment, people who are looking for trade finance or stock finance, not just your high street lender who are a one size fit all. Yeah, we've got a product, we'll shoehorn you into it. Well, this is exactly what I do. So what do? We tick all those boxes in terms of finding you finance with niche specific lenders. Now, we've got access to over 250 lenders, and I can tell you that, wow, yeah, it sounds like a fantastic number, but 90% of those you don't actually need, because you've got specific requirement. I can sit here and tell you, and everyone can, that we've got so many lenders, but that means absolutely nothing. You're looking for cash flow. And out of that 250 lenders, there are about 10 or 12 great cash flow lenders who know businesses, who run businesses, who have a vested interest in businesses. So they know exactly what you need. So this is what we do. We create a business plan for your business specifically with the right lender, specifically designed to your needs. And we do all of this to get your business exactly what they need. And we're not going to shoehorn you into one product.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, we had a little chat about this before, didn't we, Akaash, of where's the best place to go. And for me, it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? You know, you even mentioned to me that some certain letters and go, Lewis, do you know much about this sort of organisation, about all this lending? And I went, no, Akaash, because I'm a business owner. You know, I don't need to know about that sort of stuff until it actually arises. So unless I'm going to go out there and start reading all the books and do the courses on it, which I could do, but there's a specialist here, isn't there? You're the specialist in this. And if I just to go to you with my problem, I expected it to be handled by somebody else rather than me having to sort it all out for myself. So this is what your business does and specializes in. How many people you got with you, by the way, as well? What sort of team size?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, we're 9 strong and heavily looking at growing our team due to the success we've had. But in answer to your previous question, it is a minefield. And when you do approach your standard kind of banks and your lenders, what you find is, you've got a relationship manager in a bank who's dealing with another 20,000 businesses because you can never get hold of them.
Yeah.
But what sets us apart as a brokerage is we will sit down with your business. We will understand what's happened in the past, where you are right now and where you want to be. And today your requirement might be X, but tomorrow your requirement might be Y. But making sure that level of service is consistent throughout the journey of your business, that's what we're here to do.
Interesting. I'm just looking at the background of your thing as well. So we put this onto the podcast and also onto YouTube as well. And reading about your business loans, your business expansion, stock purchase. There's so many different scenarios where this comes into place, where you do need to get this business financing. So I think there's this is real key for the Black Country Business Podcast. At some point, whether you're a small SME, going to medium, going to large, there's always going to need that finance advice, aren't we? And where do we go? So this is really, thank you for coming onto the podcast. So as a podcast speaker today, what value could you give to our listeners?
The value. Well, the value is service. Money is available out there. What options are available to you? Well, this is what we do best. We have effectively got all of market open to us to find exactly the solution that your business needs with the best degree of flexibility. And that's key, I think, in today's times. Flexibility is key. Those rigid approaches that were there in the past, you often now find challenger banks coming through, but nobody knows of them because they haven't got the budgets of a Halifax or any other kind of high street banks. But how would you ever know? They're key to our business success because it's down to us to make sure we know of every lender and what products they have so that we can tailor make that for your requirements.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So without mentioning any names then, have you got any sort of examples of how it's really good for the listeners if they can actually put it into a scenario as well. Have you got any examples of anybody that you've worked with, without mentioning any names, of course?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you an interesting one from a few months ago, and I do use this as an example. So we've got a solar panel and EVR charge point installing company. Yeah. Again, we won't go into specifics. Now, they hit a point in their business where they could not tender for larger projects like six-figure projects, merely because they didn't have the cash flow to purchase the stock. It would put a massive strain on their business. So they could only go for the smaller projects. So they approached us via a client that we've got, and they've asked us for help. We went through their entire business to understand exactly what their requirements were. And within 7 days, we managed to get them a revolving overdraft facility, which gave them £150,000 to tender for what they need. Now, let's go back to that revolving cash flow facility. £150,000 for what they paid for sat in an account. But there's the kicker. This is the flexibility. They actually only pay for what they've used. So a week before they installed they got the equipment ready, They've purchased, put £20,000 towards the equipment. They only pay the £20,000 interest on the £20,000 up until installation. As soon as that client has paid, that's paid back, no more interest paid. So what they've done since then is they've been quoting for jobs which are in excess of £500,000, which was unheard of for the business. They've got 4 in the pipeline, and it's going to be their most successful year ever. But all of this that is down to their revolving cash flow facility and the flexibility in their cash flow.
Really interesting you say that. It's definitely got my mind thinking in different ways. I mean, I see clients, let's say I've got a client, for example, with a machinery workshop, and we worked on his sales and marketing, and he's got to a position now that he's got so much stuff coming through the door that his leads, they're backing up. He's got a big backup of being able to get this product out. So unless he actually has the cash flow, he's letting people down. I mean, he could turn around and invest in some machinery, couldn't he?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you could use that facility for whatever your business requirements are. And this is where I come back to is the banking world is changing. What you'll find is the high street tier 1 banks, they're reluctant to change. And you've got these facilities in place that give you flexibility. You know, we've got the millennials, you know, we're moving forward with the times, and whatever you do with these facilities, I mean, that's just one small facility that I've mentioned for cash flow. There are asset financing products out there which are incredible for purchasing assets, just for that example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thinking back to my client, you know, if he had that money there to buy the machinery to get set up, he could get so much more stuff out the door. But sometimes as a business owner, you get so caught up in it that we don't think about what sort of options are out there, especially when it comes to different financing that could get more productivity out the door and grow the business a lot faster. So I like, by the way, I like this podcast because it talks about money. We're talking about money here, aren't we? You know, the other podcasts that we've got, sometimes we talk about leadership, we'll talk about marketing. Yeah, that brings in money, but cash flow is the blood of a business, isn't it? We've got to have that moving. We've got to have that going all the time.
It's the heartbeat of every business. And you know, there's a few ways of looking at cash flow. Cash flow could be for fighting fires, to staying, you know, stagnant, or to progress. You need it for all 3 aspects of your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, it always needs to be there. Really good. So I want to talk about your journey now. So we've talked about what you do. What got you into this in the first place? What's the big vision for where you want to go with this?
Right. So what got me into this was, well, I wanted to create an ecosystem. I found an ecosystem, and I'll get to that in a second, and the reason why that ecosystem is so important to me and my business. When we've all started business, you know, we don't have an understanding. It's like an education process. We don't know much about it. You know, we understand the concept of what we're trying to do, but then there's a million and one things that are surrounded your business. You need insurance, you need business loans, you need financing, you whatever it is you need premises. What I found was the lack of knowledge out there was just ridiculous. I had to go from place to place to place to understand the basics of a business loan, to get insurance. And then the more companies you've dealt with, I don't know if you've had this, Lewis, but every company has their different way of working. Some companies might be very customer orientated. Others might be, we've got too much volume. We'll get back to you when we need to, you know, and you just constantly, there's a constant fluctuation of service.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because as a new startup, you know, you're apprehensive about things. You've invested so much of your time into it. You might not have another source of income. So I absolutely hated that concept. So what I thought to myself was, I'm going to create an ecosystem which is going to take the business from start of their journey throughout to the end of that journey. And within that, cater for all the needs of that business when it comes to financial services. So that could be something like finance, investments, that could be pension, that could be insurance. And there are a lot of other value adds in that business. But the key trigger to all of this was the consistency of service. You know,
So this sounds like, just by talking there, I can tell by your voice there's some frustrations. That, I'll take it, that's real life experience of when you were starting your business, and that's what you found.
my journey started off so incredibly slow. The frustration I had with companies getting back to me, people not taking me seriously. And the worst part of it was companies only looking out for the products and services that they've got and not just the clients. You know, I paid so much more for something that I didn't have to. For insurances, I wasn't covered in the right way that I needed to be covered. So it wasn't tailor-made to my business. It was a one-size-fits-all. And that's what I didn't want to happen. So I made it my little mission to create this ecosystem and really build something which will take people throughout the whole journey, and learn from my experiences that customer service is key.
Yeah, I just made a quick note there on my show notes. Paid so much more than I had to. That's really interesting. How much money people not just leave it on the table by not making action quicker on this, but also spending the money in the wrong places because of, I'm going to call it inadequate knowledge, really. I mean, you're the expert in this. You go out there and you find all this stuff because you're aware of what to look out for. As a business owner, you know, I'm not the expert in it. I've got to focus on growing my business. So put it to somebody who has got the background in it, and spot those minefields.
Absolutely. And it is a minefield, and this is it. So example, yeah, you might be going to 4 or 5 different companies who are quoting you all different rates. Now, if somebody's charging you £100 and someone's charging you £10, there's a big difference. So what are you paying for? What are you getting value for that £100 that you're not getting for that £10? Or what aren't you getting in the £10 that you are getting in the £100? And there's no clear differentiation. You know, it's not abundantly apparent that what value you are getting. And it's not always the cheapest is the best. It's not always the most expensive is the best. It's getting what is suitable for your business. And this was my frustration. And how much did it cost me? To be perfectly honest, I haven't ever done that calculation, but I do get scared of actually what that figure might be. But that's what we're here to do, is kind of mitigate that and say, look, this is a product, this is a service, this is what it's going to cost you, but invariably, this is what it's going to save you in what we mentioned earlier: loss of revenue, business stagnation, and time.
Yeah, really cool. Okay, so some good bits of value here, some good tips that our listeners can walk away with. For me, how much is it costing you in not getting the right person at the right time? What about the productivity side as well? So you as an entrepreneur then, if you was to go through all this again, what's the biggest takeaway? What's the biggest challenges you've faced? What sort of things would you do differently if you was to do it all again?
If I was to do all of this again, what would I do? That's a very interesting question. If I was to do all of this again, I would ensure that I had the right people around me, the people with the knowledge, people who have got the experience. Now, again, I've got over 15 years experience in this, and you can't buy that experience. You know, when you're walking into the market, you're learning that. So the best people around are the most important, and that is where the value is. And I think I learned that through experience. So if I was to do this again, I would surround myself with people with experience.
Yeah. So you've got those people around you now. You're talking like 15 years ago. I mean, if you could get those 15 years back and do this a lot faster enough, and this is what the Black Country Business Podcast is about. Why would you go and trial all this stuff that we hear, especially from America? You know, we get these big gurus and things talking about business, but this is niche to the Black Country here, isn't it? So let's save some time. Let's go and listen to people like yourself who has done this sort of journey, and go for the biggest win straight away, so we can make it a lot faster to where we want to get to. I like what you said about customer service as well, being different. I guess that relates back to having the right people in there too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Our business ethics take us to the point where we've been there. I've been there. So when Lewis, when you're asking me a question, frustration you mentioned, that frustration is true, because I can still think about the days where I was going from brokerage to brokerage, making call after call, and actually thinking, hang on a second, that's not really helping me. So I've been there, I've done that. We know, we all understand. All my staff, all our members in our team understand what is required, and that level of service cannot drop for anybody. And that's where we're at.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add to our listeners that you think would be really, I mean, this is like your final words of advice. So it could either be entrepreneurial or something to do with your cash flow, money in your business.
Yeah, sure. So cash flow is king. As we mentioned earlier, it is the heartbeat of your business. You know, there are so many options out there. One thing I will say is, you know, and it all relates to the conversation we've had, make sure you speak to the right people. Make sure you speak to people with experience. And, you know, I'll go off with a quote, which, you know, is kind of stuck with me throughout my journey, is just leave no stone unturned. There are so many options out there. What you deem as the easy fix sometimes isn't. You know, example, going to your bank, you know, it sounds like the logical way, and I completely understand that. But there are elements out there which will really streamline and kind of move forward your business in a lot quicker way.
Yeah, you see that quite often, do you?
I would say 9 times out of 10, we get that from our clients.
Really?
We usually get our clients coming back saying to us, we tried the banks first. Well, yeah, absolutely, because that's the most logical step. And that's how, you know, this institutionalization has kind of led us to going to them first. But the truth is, there are people out there who have a greater degree of flexibility, a more far reach than what your banks have to get you what you need.
What industries as well? Let's say I've just listened to this podcast now, and I'm one of the listeners that are listening out there. One of the things that I hear quite a lot is that won't work in my business. So what sort of industries are you covering at the moment? So if you're a listener out there right at the moment, guys, going, yeah, I've tried this before, that didn't work. I'm pretty sure I hear it quite a lot as a coach. I go, well, what evidence is there out there that it is working? And when you've got your attention set for that, you start to realize that there's a different way of growing. But how often do you hear that in your business?
That's probably all our clients, because when they come to us, they think, gosh, if the bank said no, that means it's not set up, it's not geared towards our market. The truth is, yeah, I'll give you an overview, and I can narrow this down as well. There are financing options for everybody, right? And the best people, what they will do is they will build a finance strategy for you and your business. So don't ever feel that there's not options. We've had recruitment agencies, manufacturers, we've had car leasing companies, we've had other banks approach us to sort out financing issues. So there are opportunities out there for absolutely everyone. And that's just to name, you know, a small drop in the ocean. I mean, cafes, retail, any sector you can think of, there are specific products out there.
Wow, that's a broad range, yeah. I like that idea of the finance strategy. That is to wrap it up into 2 words: finance strategy. Business owners listening right now, what does your finance strategy look like? Have you got one? If you haven't got one, Akaash, we haven't spoken about this already. Could you give the listeners a finance strategy?
Absolutely, it's what we do best.
Right. Okay. So if you haven't got a finance strategy, guys, I mean, cash flow is king. Let's just add these things together. Cash flow is king. Yeah. More options give us more ability to grow faster and produce stuff for our customers, and it makes everyone save a lot more time as well. What does your finance strategy look like? Akaash is here to get you a finance strategy. The Black Country Business podcast listeners. So if they want one, they can get in touch with you, www.investgrowfs.com. They can go on there. Any other options of people reaching out to you?
Yes, absolutely. You can call us on our office lines, which are 0121 260 5025. And we're on all the social media channels. So do look for InvestGrow FS. across Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc.
Right stuff. So it's as easy as just sending you a message on LinkedIn if you want to get some more information.
Absolutely. And we'll endeavour to get back to you straight away on any inquiries.
Well, you've just mentioned that customer service is your number one value in your business. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Go and test them out, listeners. Go and test Akaash out.
Give us a shout.
Good, man. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. And hey, look, if there's anything in the future where we could get some more financial tips from you, you up for it?
Absolutely. Anything we can do to help your listeners, even if it doesn't mean them coming through us, we will be here to help you.
Great stuff. So listeners, if there's anything, I'll put this onto LinkedIn, put in the comments below if you want what you want Akaash to come back on in the future and talk about in regards to cash flow, finance, and making more money in your business.